Hey there, traders. David here of TradingFibs and MarketFi.com to bring you the daily trend recap for May 15, 2015. As always, please seek financial advisor when trading with your money, as these videos are for educational purposes only. Support your knowledge in the market, see what's going through my head on any given day. Please always make sure you have a solid trading plan and always manage your stop when placing a trade. It was options expiry today, as we saw most of the four major indices just barely getting a little movement of them. Closing out pretty much the gaps and just being able to peek upside a little bit, as we see here on the Russell, just holding underneath the 50-period moving average on a day chart only. U.S. trading hours as holding above the previous fib target, but volume very subpar. We'll take a look at the YM as it works its way up to all-time high 18,270. Just barely peeking above yesterday's closed, and NQ, that's right, NQ closing out the gap and just barely finishing right even with yesterday, as we see the proverbial chop of the ES day in and day out coming down, up, and now holding above that 2096 Fibonacci target as price momentum index on the stochastics holding to the long. Using the macro 5-minute chart with our 25-minute open range and 1-hour open range depicted here in the red shadow, you can see price action here on the Russell really hugging to the daily pivot and then managing to finish off near the daily gap. Here we see the YM also with a huge sell-off at the beginning of the session, with the other four major indices only to turn back upside and pretty much hold within the daily gap pivot, only to push right upside to the top of the 25-minute open range. NQ not getting much, but a little bit chop action to the daily gap. And the ES, notice a lot of chop here at the bottom of the open range, not really being able to budge up too much and closing out near the daily gap. Taking a look at our individual indices, opportunities during the session. Here was the first move, opening up in the overnight session as the TF was coming downside, set up here at 7:15 East Coast time, 4:15 West Coast. Price action crosses the 534. As you can see, re-opportunity right here at the market open as price action crosses downside below the 50-period moving average and the 144, the overnight low 1240.2, and price action continues down in the L4. So great entry on the TF to keep you in trend. Heiken Ashi bars always looking for re-entry opportunities on T3 moving average pullback. It was all about the ES here today, following the setup short here right at the market open. A little pop here, but holding off from the pop-up short as price action really not being able to break above the 144, just slightly above the 50-period moving average. Makes its way down to the overnight low, waiting on economic data here. At the top of the 30 minutes, you can see price action not being able to break up above the 144 EMA. And consumer sentiment came out, and the ES was able to move down slightly to the daily pivot, not actually tagging it, but it was all underneath the overnight low for the majority of the first 30 minutes afterwards. Chop, chop, chop in between the overnight low and the daily pivots. It was the ES that managed to pull itself back upside, looking for as tick count started to pull up above that 250, but not really able to hold it as several lines in the sand daily gap post 30-minute open pivot at 144 EMA and turns back downside. The setup to the short was looking underneath the post 30-minute S1. So a lot of chop action until finally, that's right, finally it wasn't until at least 3 hours later when market action finally started to move to the upside and just did a grind up towards the end of the session. 5 above 34 crossover. T3 moving average was a signal for 1, 2, that's right, count them, all four indices to the upside. If you were trading on the major indices today, perhaps it was the gold that you were looking at. Here we see a setup long here. Early morning session got you in the trade with several opportunities, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's right, or just managing your trade on the way up. As price action here in pulling up above the 50 and the 144 to put you in the trade and keep you to the long. So other opportunities was here on the 30 U.S. Treasury. That's right, any chart, any market, any time frame. As you can see here, price action pulling to the upside from yesterday's session and continuing the move up. 10-tick range chart, come down to a 5-tick range chart to splice into the trade. Here you can see price action holding above the 50 and the 144 for a very bullish trend. Green all around, color, cloud, and Heiken Ashi bars to keep you in the trend. It was also the natty gas here, as we can see, set up to the long side here. Early morning, about post 2 hours market open here. We have all in the green, holding above the 50 and the 200, breaking above the overnight high. As we can see here, set up long 534 crossover opportunity on the pullback, and then that's right, pushing to the upside. This was the better probably entry after a pullback, finding support here at the 50, and then pushing to the upside. Let's go ahead and take a look at we had on the IBD today. One of the Friday, May 15th, looking at Apple and Facebook in the last couple days. Now Netflix with reports of getting into the Chinese market. When we take a look at Netflix, what is it we're looking for? We're looking for opportunities, as we can see here. Very, very choppy, a lot of lines, well, not necessarily chop, but a lot of lines on a chart indicating that there was opportunity to the upside from back in 2013. So not that anything wrong with the chart. I like to stick to simplicity. So MarketFi Maven here posting how technical reaching the 600 level was back all the way time. If this is your kind of trading, all the good power to you. I like to keep it simple. So take a look at this chart over here. And then let's go to the simple one right here on my article, Keeping It Simple, Jedi Traders, as we see price action here. One simple strategy, any market. Back here on the setup to the long, again, you have choices when it comes to charts, keeping it simple or using trend lines, Bollinger Bands, whatever it is to keep you in the trend. I try to keep it simple here. So set up to the long side on all the strategies that you've seen today. 534 crossover in the green, re-opportunity to enter to the upside as you had the breakout above the 50 period moving average and the 144. So how do we splice into this on a stock that trades over 2.5 million shares a day? Well, this is a weekly chart. You got to get into a lower time frame. When I say a lower time frame, I'm talking about a 100 tick range chart. Anything lower than that, you could possibly use a 50 tick, but even a 10 tick range chart with a lot of chop. Looking for the long-term hold. Here we go, same strategy. Holding above the 50 and the 144. Looking for the 534 crossover. That's here this week. That's right. So again, go back to long-term holding, being able to rebalance the portfolio. But if you're looking to splice into Netflix currently, you look for the intraday session on a lower time frame. 100 tick range chart would be my recommendation, as you had the solid Heikin Ashi bar on the crossover of the 534 to put you in the trade. And that's the IBD stock analysis of the Netflix in my own words. That concludes today's daily trend. Feel free to stop by at Trading Fibs or any of my social media outlets to obtain more information. My trading mantra of know one thing and know well rings true for all markets. Whether you trade the Forex, whether you trade the ETFs, equity markets, futures, commodities, my plan will keep you disciplined. One strategy, any market, any chart, any time frame. You can find me every day on Twitter at Trading Fibs, and as always, I leave the crystal ball to the experts. I only trade what's in front of me and on my charts. Have yourself a Blue Zone weekend.